After I declined to work on vacation, I received an email from my wife's sister. The HR department, you are no longer involved. We're canceling your severance. Their lawyer read the exit provision to the board the following morning, and I politely answered thanks. The CEO spilled his coffee on the ground. It's too late now, you see. I'm not the type of guy who boasts about finding inner peace or embarking on a spiritual quest. But let me tell you about sitting on a Santorini beach with nothing on your mind but whether to get a mojito instead of another pina colada. Without a harp and a halo, it's the closest thing to heaven. The sun was warm like a kind fire god that finally learned to be cool, the afternoon light soft on my shoulders. I'd slathered enough sunscreen on my nose to protect a small tourist family. I'd convinced myself my inbox was a fictional construct invented by people who hate jokes and sunlight. Somewhere behind me, my wife Mara was snapping her 73rd photo of the same whitewashed wall, hunting the angle that would make Seattle friends jealous enough to book flights. Dimitri, the smooth-talking server, drifted by with my third drink and one of those tiny umbrellas that serve no purpose except somehow making everything taste better. Life was easy, the good kind of empty, the kind where there are no conference calls, no quarterly reports, no passive-aggressive chains. Then my phone betrayed me. Vacations and phones are like boundary-blind friends. The ones who knock at midnight to show you a meme you absolutely must see. The first buzz I ignored, the second buzz made me squint. The third buzz dragged a sigh out of me like a divorced dad asked to help move a sofa. I picked up the phone expecting something ordinary. Subject line, you no longer have a role. We've canceled your severance. From Tessa Morrison, HR Director at Helios Dynamics, professional busybody and champion of bureaucratic cardio. Also my wife's beloved sister. I stared for 10 long seconds, brain buffering like a bad laptop, then I opened it. The body was a master class in corporate passive bullying. Every HR phrase polished to say you're fired, and by the way, we're keeping your money. Thanks for playing. Finished with wishing you all the best in your future endeavors. Which translates to good luck out there, loser. I read it once, twice, a third time, making sure it wasn't the sun or the seafood talking. Dimitri floated back. Everything okay, my friend? He asked with service industry concern calibrated to not too much. I laughed, not a polite chuckle, a full-on tears down the face laugh. The German couple nearby paused mid-sentence. Dimitri stepped back from the unhinged American. Are you, sir? I'm perfect, I gasped between laughs. Perfect because here's what Tessa didn't know. Too busy playing politics to read the fine print. She had just canceled the exit clause designed to protect the company. A clause that I wrote. Every term, every comma, every elegant negative space that looked like a shield for them, while secretly armoring the employee. I built Helios's legal framework. Executive agreements, termination policy, the handbook, and in Section 9, Subsection B, signed by Tessa and our visionary CEO Gavin, without truly reading, firing an executive without written cause became more expensive than a failed rocket launch. I typed my reply with the calm of a card shark holding 4 aces at a checkers table. A single courteous word, regards. I sipped my drink. Its end, set the phone face down, Dimitri hovered, unsure whether to summon help or let the scene breathe. I did not call Mara, I did not panic. Somewhere Tessa was basking in her own cleverness, unaware she had triggered the costliest error of her career. I lifted my glass to the sunset and mumbled yamas. This vacation just got interesting. Rewind 2 years. We worked knockoff in downtown Seattle, 5 laptops, a coffee maker that looked shell-shocked, 2 standing desks that never stood, a whiteboard of circles and arrows linking disruption and scalability and synergistic ecosystem integration. Helios Dynamics, a name that sounded mythic until you learned it was a consulting shop pretending to be a tech startup. The business model. Through data-driven frameworks, we optimize operational infrastructure. Translation. We tell others how to do their jobs better while barely learning our own. They had venture funding, a CEO with turtlenecks and eye contact, and I took the job. Gavin Chun could make a room feel like church and a rally at once. 34, all black, quoting vision, disruption, destiny. 3-hour interview about life philosophy and spirit animals for company values. I said honey badger because it gets things done and does not care. He loved it, hired me. I was the strategic backbone, which meant paperwork, compliance, and keeping us out of prison. Gavin did stages and clients and investor theater. I did contracts and reality. Nights bled into mornings, Thai food at 9, rants about options and parents and should he get a dog. We built something real anyway. Dimitri, the Russian coder in basketball shorts, wrote code for 16 hours straight. Leo, the CFO, once fired for calling a board financially illiterate, joined us and became my ally. We wrote HR policy, benefits, finance frameworks over 700 cups of terrible coffee. And to my shock, it worked. First a manufacturer, then a tech firm. Then a real office, a receptionist, project managers, Ashley in marketing who tape teamwork makes the dream work and fail forward on the break room wall. Gavin wore turtlenecks, charmed execs, and sometimes his wild ideas actually landed. I translated his paradigm shift into lawful execution. I slept on the office couch. It was chaotic and kind of perfect. Until we decided to professionalize HR and hired someone with impeccable credentials and a smile that needed a warning label, my wife's sister, Tessa. That's when the nightmare began. Monday meeting. Gavin announced her with lottery winner enthusiasm. Director of Human Resources, Masters in Organizational Psychology, Fortune 500 experience. She'll take us to the next level. Ashley clapped, Leo grimly saluted with coffee. I froze as Tessa clicked across the floor in a power suit that probably cost more than my first car, portfolio in hand, smile that never reached her eyes. Caleb, what a surprise, she chirped, as if we hadn't shared Thanksgiving 6 weeks ago. Fun working with family, which in her dialect meant open season with unlimited ammo. Gavin beamed, destiny, the universe aligning. I smiled a grimace and said it's something. Tessa had spent 4 years making it clear she thought Mara could do better. At our wedding, she said love is blind while staring at me. Now she had access to my salary, reviews, maybe my browser if she felt spicy. Week 1, she was charming, one-on-ones. Questions about my role, my growth. Have you thought where you'll be in 5 years? Trap question, if I aimed low, I lacked ambition. If I aimed high, she owned the latter. I said I like building systems. She wrote something that read complacent in invisible ink. Week 2 got odd. She stayed late, so did Gavin. Strategy sessions over wine, not in the budget. Emails slipped. Honey, can you review this policy? Oops, sorry, wrong thread, date night invites. New signature chief people officer, Leo noticed. Is your sister-in-law the company now? He grumbled over a too-wet sandwich. She vetoed my budget for not aligning with people-first values. Since when do we have people-first values? We had spreadsheets, Tessa made everything an HR issue, which meant she had the last word on everything. And then came Santorini, and her email and my regards. The board convened the next morning. Their lawyer read Section 9 and Subsection B aloud like scripture. I sat on a video call, waves breaking outside my window. I said thanks. The CEO dropped his coffee. It was too late now. The clause triggered liquidated damages, accelerated equity, and a golden parachute that deployed faster than their panic. Tessa's cancellation voided their safe harbor and made my termination without cause a very expensive hobby. Legal tried to scramble. But contracts are code. You run what you ship. Severance reinstated at triple, vesting accelerated. Non-disparagement mutualized. Health coverage extended. Bonus paid out. I closed the laptop. Took another sip. Let the sun paint the water. Mara framed her perfect shot of white walls and blue domes. And somewhere in Seattle, the HR department learned what happens when you send a vacation email to the guy who wrote the handbook. Regards. Employee morale and workplace satisfaction. And Gavin ate it up. He loved having someone who spoke his language, who could turn his vague ideas about culture and engagement into actual policies. Never mind that most of those policies involved giving Tessa more authority and me less access. By month 3, my parking spot, the one that had been mine since we moved into this office, was suddenly under evaluation for optimal space utilization. My system access got temporarily suspended for a security audit that lasted 2 weeks and somehow never affected anyone else. Projects I'd been leading got reassigned to cross-functional teams that Tessa just happened to chair. I started coming in early, leaving late, documenting everything because I'm not an idiot, and I could see exactly where this was heading. Tessa wasn't just my sister-in-law anymore. She was a problem. A well-dressed, perfectly co-ed, strategically positioned problem who smiled while sharpening her knives. And the worst part, I couldn't even complain to my wife about it without sounding paranoid. This was going to be fun. The thing about betrayal is that it rarely announces itself with dramatic music and a villain monologue. In movies, you get ominous lighting and a sinister reveal where someone explains their entire evil plan while cackling maniacally. In real life, betrayal wears business casual and happens in a folder left by the printer at 4:30 on a Wednesday afternoon when everyone else has already gone home because Ashley organized another mandatory team bonding happy hour at that overpriced Gastrop pub downtown that serves $12 French fries and calls them Artisol. I'd skipped the happy hour, obviously, not because I'm antisocial. Okay, partially because I'm antisocial, but mainly because I had actual work to do. The kind that doesn't involve pretending to care about craft beer selections or listening to Gavin explain his latest revolutionary insight that he'd clearly stolen from a podcast he'd listened to that morning. Plus, Tessa would be there, and watching her laugh at Gavin's jokes while touching his arm every 15 seconds wasn't exactly my idea of unwinding after a long day. So there I was, alone in the office, except for the cleaning crew and Marcus, our night security guard, who spent most of his shift watching soap opera reruns on his phone and occasionally wandering the halls to make sure nobody was stealing laptops. The printer had been jamming all day. This temperamental beast of a machine that we bought refurbished because someone in accounting, probably Leo, had decided that spending money on reliable office equipment was for suckers and companies with actual budgets. I printed out a contract that needed reviewing, and naturally, the printer had eaten it halfway through and made sounds like a dying robot having an existential crisis. So I did what every IT department hates, but every office worker does anyway. I opened up the printer, started pulling out crumpled papers, toner cartridges, and what appeared to be someone's lunch receipt from 2 months ago, and generally performed percussive maintenance until the thing agreed to cooperate. That's when I found it. Wedged between the paper tray and some internal mechanism that I'm pretty sure was held together by hopes and dreams, there was a folder, not just any folder, a navy blue presentation folder with the Helios Dynamics logo embossed on the front, the kind we used for board meetings and investor presentations, the kind that contained information someone definitely didn't want floating around the office accidentally. I pulled it out, brushed off some toner dust, and opened it. Strategic Reorganization Plan Confidential. Read the title page. Prepared by Tessa Morrison, Chief People Officer in collaboration with Gavin Chun, CEO. Chief People Officer. She'd actually given herself that title in an official document. The audacity was almost impressive. I flipped to the next page, expecting maybe some generic corporate restructuring nonsense about optimizing workflows and leveraging synergies. The kind of meaningless business jargon that sounds important, but means absolutely nothing.